And here we go. Hi everybody, I'm Leonis07, your commentator for today for tomorrow's FF1 PSP match between Crrool and chrysaschritt from the group F, the Lost Dagger group. So after the quick naming part, we are launched into the game for the very first glitch, that is an equip glitch, that I'm gonna talk about very soon, because it's quite quick to do. I can't cover it up in real time, so I'm gonna go over it while they are doing some scenario approach. So as you can see, thanks to that glitch, we are capable of selling one of the items for quite a lot of money, granting us the possibility to stack up on some curing items. So the glitch in itself is fairly simple. It's a glitch that is made possible thanks to the memory cursor feature of the game. And what you have to do is to go inside the equipment menu to target one of the slots, and on one character, then you move a page thanks to the trigger buttons, shoulder buttons, and you select another slot from another character, and then thanks to the memory cursor, if you press at the very same frame, the very same time, the shoulder button right or left with the X button, the confirmation button, you're opening the menu, the equipment menu on the slots you just switch to, and it creates a list of items that matches the previous item that you came up from. So for example, in this Chaos Shrine, Crrool just picked up a leather cap or leather hat, and thanks to that, while going from the helmet slot to the weapon slot on other characters, the glitch makes possible the creation of a judgment staff, which shares the same ID, same code ID, than the leather cap. So for example, if the leather cap has an ID of 127 for the helmet accessories, the helmet equipment, the judgment staff also has a 127 ID for the weapons. So that's how it works. So the glitch also relies on some frame perfect kind of execution. You have like up to 6 frames to perform the glitch, so it's very tight timing. So it might be usual to see the runners to have a little bit of quiet when it comes to that glitch, but fairly that these runners have the execution under their belt and everything will go fine. So as you could see, Crrool and chrysaschritt went through the very first boss of the game, Garland, one of the fallen knights of the Kingdom of Cornelia, who abducted the princess, Sarah, and thanks to those judgment staves that we glitched, we could do a fair amount of damages for free, and it only took a whole turn of attack to actually beat the boss. So thanks to that, we are retrieving the princess, bringing her back to the castle, making her father the king, and ordering the soldiers to rebuild the bridge, to give us an access to another part of the world map. It's not the overworld yet. We are kind of stuck into a circular zone area, and we're gonna have to wait for a little bit of time for getting out of the zone. We might have a keybind problem on chrysaschritt's screen. As you can see, his timer went to 0. Thanks to Crrool's advice, he's gonna pursue his manual timing. He's gonna do the dot done, so we're gonna have the time the very last moment. So I'm gonna take care and giving you the time whenever it is. After retrieving the princess, rescuing her, making her back safe, we are being granted the lute, a music instrument that is going to have its use very late in the game. And we're going to go through that newly built bridge, which gives us the access to the next town, which is Provoca, the town of the pirates. And over there, we're going to also use the Judgment Staves, but for another purpose that I'm going to cover when it comes up, for another specificity of the glitch in terms of weapon and item usage, which grants us another possibility to just nuke every kind of party when it comes to enemies very quick to get a lot of times, because what matters for that run is going fast with minimal amount of encounters, because the RNG is quite... For once, it's random. It's not like the NES version where you can have a step counting and an encounter table manipulation, for example. So, as you can see, Crrool just used the Judgment Staff as an item from the command made for that. And using the Judgment Staff as an item, as a usable item, but not a consumable item, whenever you use it once, it still remains in your inventory for further use. And that Judgment Staff can make you cast Flare, which is the most effective black magic of the very last tier kind of magic. So level 8, I think, black magic. So thanks to that, and based on even a very low intelligence stat from every kind of characters, they can make sufficient amount of damage to take all that pirate group out in a second. So judging by Crrool's walkthrough, he's going for the usual and former strategy, relying on the use of another specific items, and only that one, coupled to the Judgment Staff. So we will see what Chris has in store. Okay, that's the same approach. So now the goal is to take the boat that you acquired from the pirates. So you steal from the burglars, the sea burglars, and you make your way through the Elfam area without even entering the village or the castle. Or you could enter the village soon for going for an extra shopping for buying what is it called? I think it's the gold needles, which is an item that cures the petrification status. Chris got a bit of an RNG stepping into his sailing, granting him like one of the worst encounters that you can find over the sea, which is a set of 2 big eyes and 5 Sahagins. So the Sahagins have all a very high agility, so they are very fast to operate. So has the big eye, which can also use a stare kind of attack, which makes you paralyzed. And if you ever have the unfortunate outcome of being paralyzed with all your parties, that is called then a paralock, and you can only get out of that paralysis status through time. So the more turns you're taking in, the more chances you are to get out of that paralysis, but it's not guaranteed because you can add another paralysis onto the very first one. So the statuses can stack, and you can just end up being paralyzed for the entire time and get your party totally wiped out because of. So Chris went for the extra shopping, so it's gonna be an extra bit of time lost to Crrool here and there, and Crrool is facing a set of 2 Pisca demons. Those Pisca demons have a specificity, and that specificity is that they appear on a spiked, and a spiked tile is a given tile of an area which is made for triggering an encounter no matter what. Even if you were to use an item, which doesn't exist in that game, that would prevent you to get any random encounter, you would still get one on that. So the strategy is the same as the pirates, just use the Judgment Staff as a usable item from the inventory to cast Flare. And for most of the run, the Pisco Demons will be one of those enemies that you'll be forced to use a Judgment Staff in order to wipe them out. And another fact about those Pisco Demons is that whatever the setup they are coming at you, they are unrunnable. You cannot flee even manually those enemies. You have to deal with them, and you have to attack them and to slay them. Chris opting for an early curing, while Crrool is getting out of the marsh cave and heading north towards the next location. So, from a very story-wise perspective, you would need, or you would be kind of forced to visit the area that Crrool is going to, in order to then go down to the marsh caves and then go back to that location. Oh, rare scorpion formation outside for Crrool. That one isn't that deadly. It is for all the other versions. Solely because of that knight's armor that they both of the runners glitched at the very beginning of the run. So as I was saying, I didn't cover that glitch moment. So the very first glitch use is buying a hammer, which has an ID, and then glitching it from weapon to armor into a knight's armor, which shares same ID as the hammer, but for the gear, for the body. And those knight's armor are granting a quite surprisingly high amount of defense, but costing a bit of evasion and when it comes to fleeing. So right now, Crrool is facing the next notorious boss after Garland, which is Astos, which disguises himself into a king, the king of the elves, and he reveals that he's not the king, he's just the dark king of the dwarves, if I remember correctly. And he's just Astos, can manipulate the element of death thanks to a magic spell called Death Rub in the NES version. And the strategy is to make 2 physical attacks with the Judgment Staff with both the warrior and the thief, because their intelligence stat wouldn't be relevant for that fight. And the black mage also and the white mage will use the Judgment Staff normally as a usable item for casting. So the usual outcome that you would foresee for that battle is to have one of the characters dead because of the death spell, but sometimes Astos can miss the death spell, or just go with a physical attack, which is just the better and the faster solution to it. Chris got the crown. He's basically roughly 3 minutes behind Crrool, but what FF1 has in store can make me say that the run is not over already. The RNG is such as a lead can switch in just like that, just in a finger moment, and maybe Chris could take over Crrool at some point of the run if Crrool is getting that kind of RNG. Like the wolf, in terms of encounter, is basically the same as the Sahagin over the sea. They have a very high agility, a high evasion, and it makes the whole process of fleeing very, very difficult, because you have a piece of armor which decreases your agility and your evasion by being very heavy, but giving you a bonus of the Right, so Crrool decides to avoid the Gold Needle shop once again. He might be going for it on the very last occasion that we visit Elfheim. Yeah, Chris is mentioning in the chat. I hope it's not costing him into focusing into the game. That he has quite the amount of ambush. Just as you can see with the wolves. So not only the ambush makes all the enemies attacking before you with a whole turn without you being able to do any actions, but you also have a pack of 7 enemies, so you have to go through all 7 enemies' attacks. And there were wolves, so it's even worse to get off in terms of speedrunning. You really want to go fast, and wolves are the anti-definition of. So Chris is facing Astos. Let's see what the RNG has in store for him. So 2 normal attacks, 2 Judgment Staff, Death Spell onto the Black Mage. Oh, it connected. That's a bit of a bummer because the Black Mage has the highest amount of intelligence at that fight and is usually the one dealing all the damages. And that would have been a 1-turn kill if that didn't happen. So Chris is killing Astos thanks to an extra physical attack. I think he tried to queue a Phoenix down onto the Black Mage, just in case he would be able to be up just before the kill and get all the experience. Solely because the more levels we get, the more stat boost we get, and the better it is to get rid of all the enemy. The experience system, Crrool just retrieved the Jolt Tonic from Matoya, a witch who lost her crystal eye, an actual crystal eye, an eye made of crystal, from Astos, who stole it from us. So he gave the crystal eye back to her, and was granted the Jolt Tonic, which will be the remedy for waking the Elfheim Prince from his slumber. I was saying that the experience system into that game is very simple. You get a general amount of experience points after each fight, and those experience points are divided equally between all the characters still left standing onto the field. So the general rule is the more a character on the field, the least experience amount you can get any given battle. And that will be one of the keys for the grinding session in the middle of the run. So now Crrool is back to the Elfheim's castle for the very first visit, giving the Jolt Tonic to the prince's personal nurse, waking up and granting us, or rather granting Crrool, the access to the Mystic Key. The Mystic Key is a magic key which can unlock all the sealed doors leading to some treasure chest. So for example, we're gonna use that key inside the Elven Castle to be granted the item called the Mithril Hammer. And thanks to that Mithril Hammer, we're gonna go from the weapon slot to all the armor slots except the shield to glitch the Thieves' Armlets, which share the same ID than the Mithril Hammer. I wasn't going with that name on the spot. So he glitched Thieves' Armlets, which are giving the exact same amount of defense as the Knight's Armor would, and also giving an extra boost of agility and evasion. So now the encounters will be easier to flee from. So as you could see, Crrool also went for an extra shopping. He sold all the Knight's Armor he glitched at the very beginning of the run. Each of these armor are worth 12k, if I'm not mistaken. Or, yeah, 12k, or maybe a bit more. And with that, he just bought a set of gold needles to prevent the petrification, whether in battle or outside of the battle. And now he's off to the Cornelia Castle to make use of that Mystic Key for another bunch of chests. On his side, chrysaschritt is just going back to the Elfheim's castle. He caught up quite a fair bit. So as you can see, the RNG can make a gap being decreased over and over until both runners are tight in terms of timing. Crrool just retrieved the nitro powder, one specific item that will grant us the use into a specific location to make us be able to step into the overworld. For that, he has to take the boat to go northwest for finding some dock tiles and joining southwest a location called the Mount Dwergar. About the ship dock tiles, those tiles are guaranteed to get annoying. For example, Crrool docked at the very southwest tile, and with that it could just make use of that tile to get no encounter, and it was the very closest tile from the next location, the Mount Dwergar. So the Mount Dwergar is the hideout for all the dwarves that exists in the world, and one of those dwarves, named Nerek, is searching for a nitro powder, an explosive item, to create a canal, a ship canal, to make anyone having a boat ready for that to be able to cross and get into the overworld. So as of right now, the runners were trapped into a circular area from Cornelia to Provoca, Provoca to Elfheim, Elfheim to the Mount Dwergar. You could step far east from the location, but you wouldn't find anything useful. But now, thanks to that creation of the canal, you can now go everywhere into the world. Anywhere that can receive a boat. So anywhere that you can find dock tile. Chris is going to the castle of Cornelia to retrieve his powder as well, while Crrool is done creating the ship canal. So his time is roughly 20 minutes and 30 seconds, which is not a bad time for being onto 130 pace. The estimated time of a normal run would be around 130 and 140. So that would make an average of 135, given that the RNG isn't cooperative enough. Chris is done his nitro powder. He's gonna rejoin and probably high five Crrool. Nope, not even, because of that encounter. That gives Crrool time to cross the canal, to dock, and to reach Melmond. Melmond, which is a bit of a wasteland, solely because an evil force took control of the nearby crystal, the crystal of Earth, and rendered the Earth poor and decaying minute by minute, day by day. So we're gonna have to take care of that threat to give the land its normal shape and its normal vigor. So for that, we're gonna head south from Melmond, a bit west, to enter into the Cavern of Earth. And the Cavern of Earth is one of those two places that every experienced FF1 PSP or GBA or PSA or even NES runner is disliking the most. Solely because that the RNG in there can be quite annoying, in the sense that you can have a lot of encounters over every floor. And there's also an enemy called the cockatrice, which is a bird, a kind of jerk bird, to take some local memes when it comes to FF1 speedrunning. And that bird can occasionally, on a normal attack, inflict the petrification status. So that's why we are shopping for some gold needles to prevent that from happening, and even if it were to happen, we would have the need to cure that. Given that our whole party doesn't get petrified in its full, in its totality, in entirety, because that would mean a game over. So that's why we are taking a safety save at the third basement of Earth Cavern of Earth, sorry, to just prevent a game over. There's another type of enemy, not the wolves. So the green wolves can inflict poison with a normal attack. There are also some specters and some zombies which can paralyze you still. So Chris went out of the Mount Drakkar, fine, encountering some snakes along the way, fleeing them, while Crrool is processing through the third basement. Am I reading a prompt? No. I'm trying to be informative as I'm alone and I'm trying to cover everything. And I also know a lot about the lore and the system, and I'm running this game myself, and I'm also in this tournament. So that's maybe why you think I'm reading something, because of all the informations I try to enter in to the best capacity. So Crrool just wiped the vampire thanks to some swords. Those swords were created thanks to a glitch that Chris just did, that are created from the steel gloves that you buy in Melmon Gear Shop. The steel gloves have an ID that is shared with the barbarian sword that you can create from the armor slot to the weapon. And this weapon is a bit particular because you wouldn't have the normal access to it. You have to wait until the very final bonus dungeon of the PSP version, and to reach the very final boss of that bonus dungeon to get the loot, which is the barbarian sword. And the barbarian sword is strong enough to make all the other swords and other weapons really, really useless in terms of power, because I think the barbarian sword has a 135 attack stat, which is 2.5 and or 3 times better than Excalibur, which is supposed to be the strongest regular weapon of the game if you don't go for any glitch and any bonus die. And so the strategy against that vampire is to just slash him, to slice and dice, so to say, and just dispose of him whenever you loot. I didn't say loot. Oh, I did say loot. I might have pronounced it not good. English is not my first language, but I meant loot. Loot? Not the loot. The loot. Right. So, after defeating the vampire, you figure that you cannot access any more basement that Cavern of Earth. You have to retrieve an item capable of removing that piece of stone heavy enough for you not to be able to do that bare hand. Yeah, I figured that would pronounce the same when Chris said that he was joking with me. And for that you have to get the star ruby from the chest guarded by the vampire, give it to that giant golem, which loves eating stones, apparently. If I were to eat a precious stone, I would go with crystal, not with a ruby. I'm sassy like. And then to go to another hideout to be granted another item. On Chris' side, he just avoided a very, very nasty encounter, which was a pack of 4 cockatrices. Thankfully for him, he went out without major problems. Still getting some Peace Demons, which is a waste of time due to the items you have to use to get rid of them. Crrool is talking to Sada, one of the sage existing in the world, who holds an earth rod, which is a wand that has the power of bringing the earth his its power, so we would be able to take control of that piece of rock, blocking the access to the 4th basement of the Cavern of Earth, and making us being able to actually clear the whole dungeon to just access another part of the storyline. So Chris just disposed the vampire, slice in pieces for Chris's pizza, because he loves pizza. He doesn't like a piece of a pineapple. Ananas is French. Also bent. Some perks to being French or to be a Welsh or something like that. But anyway, some digressing here and there. Zombie encounter. Both screens, both fled. That's so we might see a high five between the runners. Ooh, Chris getting another pack of 4 cockatrices. Inputting some manual fleas and making sure the black mage can use the mage's staff, a thing that Chris glitched from another item picked in the Cornelius castle, which is the method. No, not the method. Yes, no, yes, no. The leather shield. Sorry, from Provoca. He might have looted it from the pirates fight. That's a possibility. You can also buy it inside Provoca weapon shop. No, not the weapon shop, the gear shop. And thanks to that shield, when you go from shield to weapon, you can glitch a mage's staff, which, when used as a usable item from the inventory, casts the tier 2 spell, the tier 2 fire spell, Fire. So that's a bit of time saved over Crrool for that specific area of the game. But Chris is still processing through the Giant's Cave to get the Golem and his Star Ruby to get to the Earth Rod hideout. And Crrool is already back to the 3rd floor, ready to take on that piece of rock blocking his way, and just proceed through the entirety of the dungeon. Okay, so Chris got it from the pirate fight. So if you don't get it, I think Chris would have just exited the town without it. And the new routes, one of the new routes, specifically asks for buying that leather shield if you don't loot it from the fight, to glitch that item, which grants you a rough 4 to 5 seconds time saved to the use of a jet. He would have gone for it. So that would have been an interesting decision by any means. So Crrool is now accessing the 4th floor, getting a pack of 5 cockatrices, a very dangerous encounter, but he fled. So he has the RNG on his side, even though he's getting quite the amount of encounters so far. But he is on a very good pace, still worth a 130 pace, so that's a thing. Opting to go north into the 4th basement, I personally usually go for the south part of it. I don't know, not foreseeably faster, just preference. So Crrool is onto the final floor, final basement, direction for the very first notorious boss game, storyline speaking, while Chris is getting his Earth Rod to have the access to the same part of the dungeon. So while Chris is making his way back to the Cavern of Earth, Crrool is facing the first elemental fiend of the game, which was taking the control over the Crystal of Earth and giving the Earth no chance to prosper. The strategy is to go with physical attacks without getting Blizzara, so that might be... Ooh, that was close. That was very close. Crrool got in a pinch, but he had seen that coming with the white. So the strategy for Lich, the Fiend of Earth, is to use physical attacks because he has quite the amount of HP, 1.2k health points, and the use of Barbarian Sword is crucial because this is your main source of physical damage. And usually the strategy is to input at least a physical attack with the Warrior and the Thief. Depending the routes, if you have the swords onto your mages, you can also queue the attacks on your mages. And what you're hoping for is that the first 2 attacks comes from both the Thief and the Warrior first, and do the correct damage rolls to take Lich into 2 swings. So what happened on Crrool's side? Oh, opting to cure to full. That's interesting. I'm gonna explain the mention. And what happened on Crrool's side is that Lich has an agility stat high enough to take any turn at any given. Usually after the Thief, because of the gear setup that we have. And whenever Lich has a turn in, he has a 75% chance to start off with a Blizzara, the tier 2 ice spell. Or he could go with the 25% chance physical open. That would be the scenario we would look for. But the ideal scenario that we are looking for is to make all the attacks connecting first in order to take him out into slice. So Chris is having some issues going through that final basement. He's on the verge of being fully paralyzed with the white mage fleet, and that was it. So while Chris is rejoining the final basement, Crrool is taking the boat to reach another location. My concern about Crrool healing to full is that normally he would only heal to full the mages to prepare beforehand the level grinding session, because you have to make sure that both your attackers are low enough to be wiped out on a specific move that one of the enemies of the next location will be able to cast at us. And the less HPs we have on both the attackers, the more chances there are to die quick and to not waste any turn into the process. So we will see if Crrool's choice will pay off for that. Chris is reaching the final basement, making his way to Lich. Pray the RNG in the chat for a good progression. On this side, Crrool is buying some ethers, and he's going to buy a mithril axe, an item that shares an ID with another piece of equipment. The mithril axe can glitch a set of black robe. But for now, let's pray the RNGesus for a Chris Lich fight, which can go all kind of wrong ways if the game decided to give you a wrong turn of events. And Chris is spoiling the outcome. Let's see what happened. Right, like I said, we want that scenario. Both the attackers went first. Total damage input 1.4k, and that was Lich disposed in 2 slices. So the gap is still the same. I would say roughly 3:30 to 4 minutes. Crrool is now done with the glitch, with the black robe glitch that you can only put into the thief and the mages only because of the placement that the warrior has into the team, because only the warrior can manipulate the axe. And to make the glitch being performable, you have to have a class of hero being able to handle any given piece of weapon or gear. So for example, at the very start of the game, when we were glitching the knight's armor off the hammers, we would be able to do that for the whole party because both the warrior and the white mage could manipulate that hammer, so everyone could get a set of knight's armor. But for that specific village setup, the mithril hacks. Only the warrior has the access to it. And we are glitching first to the thief, then to the white mage, and then we do a party formation swap to make the white mage take the place of the black mage, to make the black mage closer to the warrior in terms of slots, and being able to receive the glitch from the weapon to the armor slots. So Chris is heading into the Crescent Village, the location that Crrool just exited some minutes ago, and Crrool is taking a dip into the Cavern of Ice. That's the Hell on Earth location. Contrary to the name, it can be all kind of fired up in terms of RNG, because everything in there is meant to slow us down or to kill us out. I'm explaining myself. You have the cockatrices, can petrify you with a normal attack. You have the Piscademons, which are unrunnable, that you have to dispose from thanks to the judgment staffs. You have the usual zombies, specters, which can paralyze you. You have the mummies, which can make you sleep on a normal attack. So if the cockatrice can petrify you on a normal attack, the specters and zombies can paralyze you in a single attack, the mummies can make you sleep into a single attack. And then you have some extra encounters that you can find, like the Mind Flayer on Crrool's screen, which possesses a very nifty element to his normal attack, which is the death element. So Piscademons, if they can attack you, even if it does 2 damage, it can still kill you because of that death element attached to that single attack. Crrool took a safety save just before the Spectre, wise choice, in case he can't flee, but that was just a matter of seconds. Crrool is opting to step into those ice spikes onto the floor, which have the properties of depleting your HPs one by one. So the more you take steps onto those, the less HP you're gonna be granted afterwards. But those tiles are guaranteed to get knowing. So in terms of enemy, you just saw the Dark Wizard. Now you see the Ice Gigas. The Ice Gigas is unrunnable, though the Dark Wizard were runnable, but if you ever were to get an ambush with them, they would greet you with a Fire Aga. The Fire Aga is the tier 3 and final tier kind of fire spell, which can take out your entire party. And you also have the White Dragons, the so-called Double Dragons, in reference of Double Drop, one of the FF1 runners, known for encountering a bunch of them and especially dying to them. Because you can flee those dragons, but they, at this point of the game, have a higher agility than your party has, and usually go with the Ice Storm attack, which is an AoE strong ice attack and can kill you. So the whole purpose of Crrool taking step into the ice spike tiles is for depleting the health, so the Evil Eye, which was casting Thundara here, could take out most of the party. The strategy would be to pray for the Black Mage to have a decent amount of HPs to survive that Thundara, and to get all the experience from that fight, because now you only have 2 characters onto the field. So you get the Levistone, also called the Floater, into the next vision, and now you progress through the main level grind. So the level grinding takes advantage of the fact that you only have 2 characters on the field, so you receive half the experience points for each characters, and you have to hit a certain level by the end of that grind. So there are 3 possible ways to go about it. To go all the way to 19 and not having to care about any encounter afterwards, that you would just flee then. Going towards level 18 to only have one level to get to with the next location you will have to go through, or to stop after level 17 plus 1 battle if you didn't get that extra level up yet, to gamble a bit and try to route some extra encounters on the world map and the next major location to get those extra experience points to get the level 19. And that level 19 is a milestone for the mages to have the access to new tier of black magic and white magic spells. So for the black mage, we are aiming for getting the haste and the teleport spells. As for the healer, we're gonna go for Hilara, the tier 2 AoE curing spell. So Crrool is almost done with his grinding. He had quite the interesting process because his black mage died twice. First at Lich and then at the very first Thundara. So he had to take extra Evil Eye encounters to make the count. So now his white mage is level 20, plenty, and level 18 for the black mage, which is also plenty for the next few minutes of the run. Chris is getting a very unlucky zombie encounter, almost paralyzed, but the black mage could pull the mage staff out. So Crrool is about to exit the cavern. He's gonna take the upper path instead of the down one for not rejoining the Evil Eye spot, while Chris is going to try to make his way to the Evil Eye grind spot. Also opting to get some damage off those freezing tiles. Interesting, because his black mage has now 90 HP, which should be plenty for the Thundara, but could be a gamble. Not sure. And also realizing that his black mage is already having a very decent amount of HP, just as his thief. Same for Crrool's black mage. I didn't check the others, but they are in both good shape. Crrool is heading back to the boat. He's gonna retrieve an exclusive mean of transport thanks to the Levistone. So the Levistone is a piece of crystal infused with magic, with earth magic, created by the State of Lefane, one of the entity that won't be ever mentioned into the game. You have to dip into the lore to know that from other games, other cross episodes games, and that stone will call forth the earth power to split the desert in two halves and make the appearance of the airship that was buried underneath it. So Crrool obtained it and is now heading towards the Citadel of Trial. Right, so I have a little technical issue on my part, so I'm just gonna try and assume, because my stream feed just froze. It's gonna take a little while to get it back. So I'm just gonna assume that Chris is onto his way or already in his grinding session, or maybe almost done with it. and Crrool is making his way through the Citadel of Trial. That location is required for retrieving an item that will give us the ability to switch classes just after. So this Citadel consists in a set of teleporters which can warp you into a given location, but you have a trick. You have to take all the southernmost kind of teleporters to get onto the right track. And whenever you're done with those teleporters, you will have to get through a set of corridors hosting a spag tile that you will have to go through twice, hosting a nightmare type of encounters. And that encounter is usually used by runners to get the extra experience points missing after the grind. So my direct commentary stream feed is still down, so I'm gonna try and open the Speed Gaming channel. I'm gonna have a delay, but I'm gonna try to cover everything that's coming up. Normally, I should have covered everything, to the very exception that one of the reasons to dip into the Citadel of Trials is to retrieve three items. One crucial items, which is the rat's tail, and two side items, which is what you just saw on Crrool's side, the healing staff, which will serve for a glitch at the very end of the run, and gloves, which are another kind of usable items from the inventory, which grants the party the use of the tier 2 spell Thunder spell, Thundara. Right, so Fiesel is making his way to my rescue and is working onto the commentary RTMP server, so I'm gonna have it in a short while. So meanwhile, I'm gonna try and cover what's going on everyone's screen the best I can with the delay that I myself have. So Chris is retrieving the airship, or already had it, depending on the delay I actually have. And Crrool is making his way to the end of the Citadel. After getting the gauntlets, he's getting the rat's tail and going through another spike tile with dragon zombies, which is a very interesting fight, because out of that one you can be granted a specific loot called the Mega Elixir. And the Mega Elixir is a sort of elixir, can refill your HPs and MPs to full, but the Mega Elixir has this property to do that for the whole party. It's an AoE ultimate cure item. Right, so Crrool is done with the Citadel. He's heading back towards his airship, while Chris is making his way to the Citadel. He took a very interesting way to it when it comes to airship movement. So you saw that Crrool opted to just revive all his characters to have the best firepower when it comes to attacking the nomenclature. Oh, that was a sandworm. Sandworms are nasty. They can use the earthquake move, which is an instant death spell, which isn't related to the earth element. It's just called earthquake because that's the best way to split the floor in two and make you fall into it. It's a normal element death spell you can die from if you don't have the pieces of equipment that can prevent you from dying to that. So what was I saying? So yeah, so Chris is opting to leave his warrior dead to still get some decent experience points share with all his characters. So instead of dividing it by 4, it's gonna only be divided by 3. Probably that one of the perks for doing that is to get some levels onto the thieves, because if the thief is reaching the level 15, it can also be granted the access to the haste blacksmith. Crrool just traded the rat's tail to Bahamut, the dragon, the ultimate dragon, for being granting the job upgrade. So now the warrior is a knight, the thief is a ninja, the black mage is a black wizard, and the black mage is a wizard. So not only you change classes, you also change the way the level ups will influence your stat. So the warrior will get boost of HPs and attack, the ninja will get boost in agility and attack, a bit of HP as well, but not that much compared to the knight. The white wizard will have a boost in HP and intelligence, and the black mage will get a boost of intelligence and agility. This RNG into the Citadel is not the sweetest, so the gap is increasing a bit. Meanwhile, Crrool just started his new magic spells shopping and is heading into the Mount Gulg. Mount Gulg is a volcano responsible for the quality of life and air of the area to it, because another elemental fiend is hiding into the very last basement floor and taking over the fire crystal. So the usual walking through that Mount Gulg is to take as many steps onto the lava as possible, because just as the ice spikes kind of tiles, you cannot get any kind of encounters, and you can possibly make your trip into the volcano encounter lane. Another good thing when it comes to routing that Crrool made is to get the Hilara before heading to the Gulg volcano, simply to be able to heal at a very specific point the damage dealt by the lava, and not being cornered by an encounter which will wreck your party in a single AoE. So now he's not taking any safety save in front of the boss, because now all the bosses will be following that normal strat, use the barbarian sword, and being cut to slice. Meanwhile, Chris is trying his best to get out of the Citadel. He got his rat's tail. Marilis is down on Crrool's side, and Chris is heading towards the exit of the Citadel. Right. So the RTMP server is still not back on, so I'm doing it all with delay. I hope the chat can follow. Right, so meanwhile, Crrool is getting through some cutscenes. Chris is gonna make the same kind of trip as Crrool to get to the next location. So it will take a little bit of time. So now Crrool is going to a desert to get his hand onto a ferry that will be released in a town, and if you meet that ferry again, gonna grant you the access to an Noxiel, a liquid that will render you able to be able to breathe underwater. So whenever we get past that, I'm gonna take over the commentary, trying to make the RTP server to. Alright, so after this little trip with the airship onto Crrool's side, he made his way through the village of Onrak to reach a siren, which was actually a phantom, asking for help to release the area of its own elemental fiend, the Fiend of Water, which renders the water not consumable and not enjoyable whenever you dip into it. So thanks to the Uxiel, we are able to take the barrel and to go into the depth of... is it a lake? Might be a lake. To the depth of the lake, and we are entering a sunken temple, which holds the crystal of water, and thus which hosts the Fiend of Water. Crrool had a very gentle walk to that specific item that he retrieved, the Rosetta Stone, which is just like the real one, a tablet called Slab into the NES version, on which are engraved some weird scriptures, which will be deciphered and translated later on. He's now using the teleport spell from the Black Mage, which gives you the ability to warp out onto not a previous floor, but one floor up. So since all the dungeons are, to the very exception of the very second to last one we're gonna head into, are built into basements, so it's making you go one floor up. And if it were a location made with floors, with stages, it would make you go one stage. So Chris is having his magic bought, and Crrool is making his way towards another key item. Well, not a key item, but a very crucial piece of equipment, which is the light axe. And the light axe, thanks to the warrior, the knight, and the ninja, will be able to to glitch a specific piece of gear called the survival. There is also a piece of equipment that Crrool will be glitching thanks to another item, which is the healing staff. If I'm not mistaken, the healing staff will be involved into that glitching moment. So thanks to the light axe from the weapon slot to the armor slots, we're gonna be able to get some survival vests, so agility and defense boosts, also evasion, both on the warrior, the knight, and the ninja. The white mage will receive a set of 2 survival vests and 2 lordly robes. Well, Crrool just opted for 2 lordly robes and 1 survival vest. Don't know if speed-wise it's wiser or not. It sure saves time, but might be missing a bit of evasion to get the priority over all the packs of enemies. So the lordly robes are made thanks to the healing staff, and the lordly robes are raising the intelligence stat that the white mage will now use for his personal benefit. The white wizard will become the main powerhouse, so he's gonna be the one using all the the usable items, which translates into some magics, and the healing spells, because the more intelligence you have, the more HP you retrieve thanks to a healing spell. So Crrool opted to do that. I didn't see if he went with 4 survival vests on the Black Wizard, but pretty sure he just went with 3 of them, which is sure here enough for the Black Wizard. And he's taking on the Kraken. And the Kraken is following the same strategy, slice and dice, and hoping he can die quick. And as you could see, it only took 2 slices, 2 sword swings to make it through. So now both runners have 1 full dungeon in between us. In between them. I'm not running, so I don't know why I'm saying less. Which represent something along the lines of... I don't want to be mistaken, but that would be somewhere along the lines of 5 to 7 minutes. Rough. Given that Chris can cope with his own RNG and grab some time back. Okay, so just as Fizzle said, the RTMP server is going through maintenance, so I'm gonna keep on commentating with the normal stream channel, and we'll try to compose with as much delay as I have. So now, as Chris is joining the Sunken Shrine, Crrool made some steps into the Waterfall Cavern, which is one of the worst locations of the game, probably ironically the quickest to go through because there's only 1 floor. But that location, if you look into deeper the code of the game, you can see that that location has been made one of the highest in terms of encounter rate. It is flagged as a level 2 kind of dungeon, so granting the most encounters per second, if that is even a feature. The encounters per second. The eeps, not the deeps, but the eeps. So yeah, and that dungeon is mainly composed, to go simpler, with nightmares, those horses you already saw in the Citadel, some golems, some birds, cockatrices, and pyrolisks. The pyrolisks, even if you can flee from them really quickly, have this gaze attack which can make you having an instant death as well. Chris just got the Rosetta Stone. Crrool made his feet into this particular room where he talked to a robot, which gave him the warp cube. I don't think it is called any other way. Maybe the warp, something like that. And he also went for one chest, hiding a ribbon inside, and that ribbon will serve to glitch other set of ribbons, but onto some other slots. So, for example, the ribbon is an helmet exclusive item, and thanks to that item, we're gonna be able to glitch from the helmet to the weapon slot a Gigantac that both the knight and the ninja can manipulate. And thanks to that creation of that new item, which will remain in the inventory for as long as the run is going, we'll be able to go from the weapon slot to the shield, armor, and glove slot, and being able to create some extra ribbons. And those ribbons have that specialty to make the party being resistant to any special elemental attacks, or just regular elemental attacks, as well as being protected from any death, non-elemental kind of death spell. Oh, we have a music glitch an audio glitch from Chris. So there's a glitch, the light hacks glitch, done in a certain way, we still don't know how, can make the game being a little messed up and doesn't know what to do. So it's just gonna cut the background music for a while, and up until you defeat the Kraken, and it will make the game be back on his audio track. Where was I? So the ribbon protects from death, non-elemental spells or attacks, protects through elements and special elementals. Now, Crrool has deciphered the Rosetta Stone in Melmond thanks to Dr. Une. So the process was very quick. You raise your hand, you turn onto yourself, and bam, you know a dead language. Now the purpose of that to that decoding is that now Crrool is heading toward a very remote village that is only accessible thanks to the airship, and on the very opposite side of the continent. So you have to you have to walk for quite a while. And during that while, you can face miniature zombies, which are unrunnable. You also can face some winter wolves. You can also encounter some hill gigas, and those are runnable. And all that track for being, luckily or not, blocked by the resident of Lufenia, populated with people that you can now interact with thanks to the Rosetta Stone. And one of them will give you the chime or the chime, depending on how you pronounce it, and depending how which roots this word has. And that chime will participate into revealing into a specific desert the presence of the Mirage Tower. Without that kind of bell, you cannot remove the magical type of mirage circles that shelters the tower. So for that, you only have to go back to your airship, make a little bit of walk southwest to like the only patch of grass next to the desert, and you have a little walk to the Mirage Tower. I sound like a South Park character. That's one of the... If it's a compliment, that's the very first time it has been. Chris is facing the Kraken. Apparently defended with both his mages, so only his warriors went with the physical attacks. He had to have the second turns of normal attacks, so now he's done with the Kraken, and will try to chase Crrool with the deciphering of the Rose of the Stone, the retrieval, of the time, and then heading into the Mirage Tower. So now the Mirage Tower is kind of like the Waterfall Cavern in terms of encounter. You can have a lot of them, even though the dungeon is not flagged as a tier 2 kind of dungeon when it comes to encounter rate. But the floors are so tedious to get through, many turns to take, and we are assuming that the RNG related to the encounters are based onto in-game timer and in-game real-time frames and some in-game time frames as well. So it might be the reason why that location has that many encounters. That tower doesn't really have many unrunnables except that blue dragon that you saw onto Crrool's channel, onto Crrool's feed. So that's one rare to his compendium. Chris is heading into the Waterfall Cavern to make his hand onto the Warp Cube and the piece of ribbon into the last room chest, while Crrool is encountering another blue dragon. So the blue dragons are unrunable, and this one is blocking the way to the main teleporter that will make him granted the access to another dungeon, the Sky Fortress, the Flying Fortress. My bad. Who's ahead? Right now it's Crrool, and by the looks of it, it might still be the same for the last part of the run, unless Crrool is given a very harsh RNG and Chris can just bonk through all the location in the minimal amount. So the Flying Fortress is the very last elemental dungeon related to the Crystal of Wind. So there's a demon, a fiend, which do control over the crystal, rendering the air and any aerial space to travel very, very dangerous. And also the quality of air is reduced. So this set of locations, both Mirage Towers and Sky Fortress, are made with floors going down to up. That very last floor, not the last, second to last floor, fourth floor, has a very tricky design to it, because for getting towards the exit to it, you have to take consecutively 2 different directions which are not opposite one another. So for example, you can go left twice then up, or down twice. That works, but you cannot go left twice and then right twice. It's not work. You would just end up onto the very one teleporter that got you into this room, and you would go one room behind. So you can go left, up, left, up. You have many ways to do that, as long as you don't take consecutively 2 opposite directions. The last floor of the Flying Fortress is known for hiding a gem of RNG that Crrool presently didn't get, which is the Warmick. So we're gonna hope that Chris will have it, because the Warmick is a 1 in 64 chance encounter, and that guy can literally change the whole shape of your party. So Crrool is facing Tiamat, a female dragon, the queen of the dragons, in just slice. So the strategy is still the same: slice, cut, and win. So Crrool will have some cutscene and would still be able to get a chance at Warmech encounter, because the Warmech is so rare that any runner, even if they are behind, really wish to encounter. And so far into the tournament, only one runner got it. Gosu comeback from my own group. He was behind and didn't win it in the end, though. Encountering the Warmech doesn't forcibly means that you're gonna win. You're gonna have a very comfortable advance in HP. There you go. Okay, so the RTMP is back. I'm gonna head into it once more, hoping the delay wasn't that that heavy. So, as I am now, Chris is on his way to make some steps into Lufenia, while Crrool is headed toward the Chaos Shrine, the very first location we had into the game, where we would fight Garland, retrieve the princess. And it appears that that particular room where Garland was is hiding a crystal, a magic crystal that reacts with all the elemental crystal that we just got from all the elemental fiends. And by reacting to it, that crystal will shatter and create a magic stream, making us able to warp out in time, to warp 2,000 years or 3,000 years behind in time. I think it's 2,000. Not sure. And then you're gonna dip into the very final dungeon of the game with a set of floors hiding some unrunnable encounters or some runnables. Like the White Dragon one is usually a runnable encounter, but they can also bash you with ice storms, which can do a consequent amount of damage to your party. Well, what would be the point of being able to commentate or run if you could choose the options to just neglect the one that talk without even knowing what you're watching and what you're watching? I'm from France. I'm French, that can be told with my accent. Chris is heading towards the Mirage Tower, trying to make his way towards the Flying Fortress, while Crrool will be facing another kind of interesting enemy, the Death Eye, which is the leveled version of the Evil Eye, but one slice and we're done. So, X-Factor, if I have to take you on those words, do you know why, for example, Crrool cannot run from the Green Dragons, and what could be done for that? My accent. That's... I don't know how to take it. I usually don't take it well, but I'm gonna assume that it wasn't meant into a harming. So Crrool has been done with the Evil Eye, played the loot, the very first item we got from the princess, which reveals a passage through the lower floors of that final dungeon. Yep. Then if you just want to hear the game, go through a Let's Play over YouTube with no sound. And keep your not that classy comment, because if there's a commentary, it's for a purpose. If you don't like it, just mute the stream and get the game ongoing without any sound. Pretty sure Crrool is also talking over his channel. That's why we are taking chrysaschritt game feed. So if you really want no sound from anyone talking, you go to chrysaschritt's channel. But the whole purpose of having this restream is for the run being watched by a larger audience than what you would find into any individual. And so bye bye X Factor. Nice knowing. Chris is heading toward the very last floors of the Flying Fortress, while Crrool is heading towards one of the main boss refight. So his walk within those floors weren't that bad, I would say. It was decent, very decent, and now is onto that particular floor related to the earth element, because there will be a refight, which is and Lich can also have an access to a newly found spell, which is Flare. But Crrool just went out with one physical attack against 4 sword slashes. What could Lich do? On his way, Chris didn't encounter the Warmick yet. He's gonna confront Tiamat. She's gonna bite the dust. Crrool is now heading toward the next refight through a floor related to the element of fire. So I'm gonna let you silently and with your thoughts to guess which demon is hidden and which will only requires the use of some sword slashes. And that was Marylith younger version, because yeah, now we are 2000 years back in time. The elemental fiends are rejuvenate, and they are actually younger than what they were when we first fought them, having the access to better stats, better HP pools, and better skill set. So for example, if Lich would replace his Blizzara with Flare when back in time, Marylith would have the access to Fire Gat instead of just Fire Wrath, for example. The suave voice. So here, Crrool is dealing with the water elements with the Judgment Staff. One of the new routes is glitching a set of black robes that you can access thanks to the Mythal Dagger that are hidden inside the Cornelius Castle or purchasable in Crescent Village. And those black robes would be able to cast tier 2 ice spells, Blizzara, onto these water elementals, and that would be enough to take them down, and that would free like 4 to 5 seconds of the judgment. Oh, you sweet guys. All the love. So Crrool is having an elemental, water elemental kind of floor that will give Chris the chance to reduce the gap time. So by the looks of it, I would say that Crrool is going for, let's say a high 131, low 132 time for chaos. Meanwhile, on Chris's side, his black mage is plenty on HP, so he's not gonna have to care more about him for the very last fights of the game. Whereas Crrool has a very interesting ninja in terms of HP that will make him able to do just the same kind of not caring as Chris would do with his black mage. Oh, purple worm! Purple worm! That's one of the encounters that you cannot run from, and that I can sing onto because purple worm, purple rain, Prince Van. I just wanted to do it. That's my signature, really. Couldn't resist. And that monster can also be a troll because it can loot an emergency exit. That's an item that can make you warp out of an entire dungeon. So if by accident you use it, you would be out of that final dungeon in a flash, and you would have to redo all the tracking to get back into where you were. Crrool made it past Tiamat, Rejuvenate. Now he's gonna face the very last boss. You might have recognized him, but first, killing the whole party, ethering the MPs of everyone, creating a golden staff onto the white mage, and taking out one of the equipment slots to having only the cloth. That's for a single purpose, to render the black mage being slower by definition, statistically speaking, than the final boss. So Chris is facing the Evil Eye, and now on Crrool's side we have Garland, which explained that he got teleported back in time thanks to the crystal of the Chaos Shrine room, and thanks to the demon, the elemental demon strength, they grant him life back again, and Garland granted them the ability to travel through time and to make a time loop in where it would reign supreme and where the demons would remain uncontested. Now, Garland has actually accumulated all the Fiend's power into one body and eventually turned into Chaos, the ultimate master of disaster. So you have to face him, and you have to make sure that all your party is having an average HP above the, let's say, 300 HP mark for the attacking rolls, and 250 something. I would go for 225 still, but 250 for the black mage would sound lovely, and the white mage naturally has that tremendous amount of HP, so you can compose with that. Whenever you're done with the HP raising, you're casting haste on every unit that can use a sword, which is the warrior, the knight, the ninja, and the black wizard. And whenever you're done with that setup, it's basically press X to win. So basically, Crrool is heading toward his second win, while Chris is trying to get through the earth element floor towards Lich Refight. So let's say Crrool is about to finish maybe the next turn, and Chris is about to make his way through the entirety of the boss. And Crrool, GG. Crrool finishes with a real-time attack of 1 hour and 33 minutes and 33 seconds, an SRL estimated time of 1:33:34. Good job to Crrool. Waiting for any sign of Crrool if he wants to be into the commentary room. And we are now waiting for Chris to replicate what Crrool just did, going throughout the whole final floors, and to head his way inside Chaos Room and to have a grab onto the final boss and defeat him once and for all. If Crrool wants to get into the commentary room for a quick interview... Oh, I see him. I'm gonna move him. Hey, Crrool?
Hey,
Hey, congratulations for your win.
thank you.
If I'm not mistaken, that's your third win?
Yep,
Or
and with that, I'm qualified for the next round.
yeah, you're guaranteed to qualify for the next round for the double elimination bracket. Right, so I just saw your comment into the SRO room. You said messy RNG and decent execution to be politically correct. So how is your general feeling about that run?
I mean, I wasn't focused, I'll say that much. That's why I said decent execution. I was, like, you could probably tell that I wasn't focused for a
Yeah,
few parts.
yeah, I
I made
saw
some,
that, but
yeah, I made some sloppy mistakes here and there, which shouldn't really happen. But then again, I knew it was a match where I didn't have to be full focused to get this.
that's pretty true. I think Chris also got some good chunk of bad RNG in some
Yeah,
ways, so you
I
would
saw.
have a decent lead. You had a whole dungeon difference when
I
you
know.
got out of
Yeah, I
back.
had the restream open on my third or
Oh,
my
okay.
like my other screen, so I knew I was quite significantly ahead.
That's interesting.
Yeah, like I have that with these kind of matches because it's not a rando, so it doesn't matter anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I had the restream open on the other stream on my other screen, so I knew I was decently far ahead. So I was just chatting with folk in chat and just having a good time and just enjoying the run.
Oh yeah, that's the best way to go about it. So you said that you had a decent execution. You did have a very, very neat execution. Now I had some questions like for the light hacks menu, you opted to only go with 2 lordly robes and 1 survival vest on the white mage. Was it just because you wanted to be quick about it, or did you
That's
just
that's classic route. Because
okay?
you replace it for the ribbon right after anyway. I still
Mm-hmm.
run the 2016 route,
Mm-hmm.
and since we replace it with the ribbon basically immediately after, there's no point in equipping an extra lordly robe somewhere.
Okay.
Plus, I don't have like Blazara and whatnot on
Mm-hmm.
me, so
Yeah, you only had the gauntlets for Thundara. What I
yeah, I'd be
also.
stuck with Gauntlet, which at that point, like, you're not gonna really use them until potentially third floor Chaos, or what is it, B3 Chaos Shrine?
B3, yeah.
Granted, with that kind of luck, it would have saved me some time, but with average luck, it's just not worth it at that point.
Yeah, I can see the appeal of that that formal routing because it's not an outdated one. It's just one of the routes that were existing prior to the new ones, but still going fast.
It's still a solid route. It's just a very
Mhm.
RNG reliant route, which is still the main thing with this route and the route that I assume Chris used, because I assume he used the newer route. It's just that this one is a little bit more reliant on the RNG actually going your way, which, granted, doesn't always happen. Definitely didn't happen today, but it's not a route that isn't viable anymore. Plus, I just don't want to bother learning a new route, at
Mhm.
least not at this stage. In big
Yeah.
part because I know it'll mess up my muscle memory completely.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's a whole new new muscle memory that you have to process. And I think yeah. So Chris went with the new route, with the Lust Dagger route, as well as the Mage Staff and the Black Robes, I think. So that was giving him some more options for some fights, but as he was behind for quite a while, it didn't make a real difference because the RNG has been just as worst as yours.
Hmm.
So now how is as we're seeing, he's heading with the final glitch menu, the final setup to face Chaos. So for the recall, it's Garland being infused with all the devil force into his own body, making him turn into Chaos, the ultimate god of disaster. So normally his black mage is out of the danger zone right off the bat, is not gonna have the need for a giant tonic on that one particular unit. I think your on your side, your ninja was in the same position, right?
Yeah, my ninja really high health. It's like 300 something.
Yeah, that's one of the situations you really want to see happen, because it's saving you a bit of a turn when it comes to setting up the buffs and the healings. Right, so he went with no Giant's Tonic and double haste, so that makes a whole 2 turns saved compared to an emergency setup with 2 Giant's Tonic and 1 haste. Now attacking the last haste to come into, and that's pretty much press X to win. I think Chris will have to care about a bit of the ninja HP if Chaos is going through his whole special elemental attack, because between Tsunami and Cyclone, there might be a little gap in HPs that he will want to cover in case he's seeing the high damage roll from both these special attacks. Right, physical attack. Nothing to worry about, especially on the warrior. On the knight, sorry. And that's pretty much press X to win while watching a bit the HPs to make sure nobody dies too soon. Because not only you would waste some turns to resurrect, maybe, but you're just going with less power attack, it gives also more chances Chaos to use the ultimate healing spell Kuraja, which will heal him for 9999 HP, like in a flash. And that you don't want that to happen, otherwise it's just a waste of. And that Cyclone might a heavy toll on the ninja. Let's see. Yep. So in that particular situation, I would have opted for using the healing staff with the Black Mage to cover a bit of HP prior to Chaos attack if I have the right turn order, and I would have gone with it. But that was it. Chris is done with an SRL time of 1:42.14. Congratulations to Chris. So we're gonna see if he's willing to come into the commentary room for a quick interview.
Yo, Chris.
Yo, Chris.
So I just want to say I'm completely done with this game. I'm not even going to do my final match. I'm already out anyway, so I'm good.
Let me watch the current stage. I don't think it means an automatic disqualification. Well, not disqualification, but non-qualification. If I'm pretty sure about it. So as for now, Crrool is having a 3-0 status. You have a 3-0 status. You would need Green Cleric to lose against Crrool and to win against Cleric with a better best and average time to make sure you qualify. So you still have a chance. It's not over. It's just like my group. Gosu.
To be fair, he'd need to win with a 9-minute net difference. That's a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot.
That's all. I mean, you have a 1:42.14. It's gonna bring your average to a low 1:30. Green Cleric is at a 1:40, but if he loses against Crrool with a significant margin and time, that could potentially go into your favor. But we have to see this through, so you really don't need to abandon now. If I were to.
Yeah, I'm just this the RNG on this one was so freaking terrible. I was behind the entire time, and I had really good execution, but just the RNG made it terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that you said this game can go and make itself be screwed. Was it solely over RNG, or did you feel some things went wrong on your side?
Realistically, the RNG, like, I had really good menus compared to my last couple of runs. But other than that, just it was a slugfest.
Okay.
I didn't wipe anywhere. I had good bosses, but just overall encounter RNG was absolute trash. So
in terms of rare encounters, I didn't really take
I didn't get any.
the time to check. I know Crrool might have encountered a blue dragon early in the Mirage Tower.
Yep, blue dragon and fire element.
Blue dragon and
So
fire
I actually
element.
got 2.
So that's 2 to be noted onto the Google Doc. Nice. So Chris, you're a bit disappointed with that run. That's totally understandable. You're one of the new runners of this season, and for anyone who's watching this tournament for the very first time, or is being interested by this format, what would be your mindset if you were to advise a potential new runner to it?
Realistically, expect RNG to happen, because it will. But don't get frustrated by it. My frustration comes from I really want to get a sub 135 time, and I'm nowhere close to that at the moment. No matter what I do, this game tends to give me some curveball and messes that up. So, but overall, don't get frustrated with it and just have fun with it.
That's a pretty honest answer. I salute it. Well, guys, if you have any last words for this little interview, I'm all ears.
I'd like to thank you for commentating. Nobody else was available.
Yeah,
and
that's the least I can do.
I'd like to thank Feeble and Speed Gaming for always hosting us. So
yeah, Chris, thank you for the match, and Leo, I'll be seeing you in double elimination because I'm coming for you.
Well, I'm planning on not encountering you at all, so if I have a way to do that, I'm gonna do it. No kidding. If I have to encounter you at some point, do it. Anytime. That's not a problem.
Leo will make sure to puzzle his way to victory.
Or just puzzle my way. Not forcibly to victory, but puzzle my way in. That would be fun.
Well, if you guys do have that matchup, I hope I am the one commentating it.
Oh, be sure to do it. Be sure to be there when I wreck Leo.
Oh, I'm hoping it's both me and Kib, because we seem to have the best commentary together. Normally because we're tired whenever we commentate together.
Yeah. It's alright, that's us for now. I'm also thanking Fiesel for the restream, for his availability for the RTMP feed that got a little bit into a pinch at some point. Thank you for the quick heads up to it. I'm gonna leave you all here, guys. I'm not sure about the schedule, but pretty sure there are some Legends of Zelda or Super Mario Bros. Or any kind of other tournament that's out here that is bound to happen. As for the FF1 tournament, I believe we have another match later on today at, let me see, at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So for Europeans viewers, it's very late in the evening, something along the lines of 20... Something along the lines of 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Oh, it's Super Mario Bros. So there you have it. And so yeah, next match for FF1 tournament will be at 7 p.m. Eastern, 3 a.m. CET. The ultimate match of the Group B with Kibeta and Lenofis, the second place the qualifying place is at stake for that one, so you don't want to miss it. It's gonna happen over Speed Gaming, and further runs will happen later in the week. Right, so thank you again all for watching. That was me, Leonis07, for the commentary. A pleasure to do that and to have you all over for the good vibes and the whole format. So take care, everyone. Have a good day or a good night, wherever you are. Stay safe and see you next time. Ciao.